saw from the video, we specialize in content creation for business. I can't reiterate the importance of having quality content for your business. You know, there was an era where people were using stock content, but now in today's market, it requires something different. And so SCB can definitely help you get solid video and photo content that you can use on so many different platforms. You can use it on your websites, your social platforms. You can use it in billboard campaigns, print ads, and we make the process super easy. Something that we've added this year is we're doing a lot of full business marketing. I want to introduce Heather's going to raise her hand. She's our new digital marketing manager. Let's give her a round of applause. She is phenomenal, and she does websites, social media, blogging, writing. So whatever your business would need, we can definitely help you get the word out here in the local community. Super excited to be here at the Chamber. We love Ramtech. Ramtech's logo was up there. Did you see that? That's so at the end of the day, we're going to be giving away a free video. So you guys make sure we'll pass around a metal bucket, and if you want to put your business card in there, we're going to be giving away a free client testimonial. So thanks so much for allowing us to be here today.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is 12:02. It is afternoon. My name is Morelle McCrary. Just like you mentioned, I move around a lot. I'm a consultant at heart, so I will walk around. If you can't hear me, just let me know, and I can get louder. Trust me. I started Ramtech PC Solutions in 1999, and I believe this is coming up. And we focused strictly on IT. That has changed. We still focus on IT, but what technology does and how we interact with it has changed a lot, right? So today I want to introduce you to Ascend Cybersecurity as well. We work hand in hand with these guys because they provide SOC services. SOC services, Security Operations Center, that's what that means. We are technically a NOC, a Network Operations Center at Ramtech. So when you marry both of these together, you get a good combo, and I'll kind of go over some of that with you. My name is Morelle McCrary, like I mentioned, and the president of Ascend is Kenneth Hayes. He and I actually grew up in the same neighborhood, and we didn't even know it until we were reconnected as adults, and it was really neat. So we both have a passion for technology. He went more government side of technology, support and maintenance and sales and all that stuff, and I focused on small business. So I'm your small business connection to Ascend. Yes, history, how we're connected. We're partners with Cisco, Microsoft, all those. I actually ran out of space when I was working on this logo, this page. It was like, there's so many people we're affiliated with to make sure we have the right fit, solution for our technology customers. But yeah, together overall, we have 45 years of combined IT experience. So we are here to help you with your IT needs. So how do we get here, right? In 2000, anybody use a computer in 2000? I think that's when I first started in technology, really. We had like Windows 2000, XP, Windows Millennium Edition, Windows Vista, some of those old dinosaur operating systems, and I'm sure you probably have upgrade stories that went bad and you lost data and you lost everything. So yeah, I'm not gonna touch on that and pick that scab off. 2007, that's when the first iPhone came out. But before that, anybody know what phone came out before that that was considered a smartphone? BlackBerry. Crackberry is what I called it, right? I had one of those things, and I'm at 2 a.m. in the morning scrolling with that Pearl just, and then anybody ever try to load a web page on a BlackBerry? Let me tell you, that's a different game changer. But moving on down the line, you got Internet of Things, and in 2014 when Internet of Things came out, a lot of people didn't really know what it was, right? So now, fast forward, Internet of Things is now Internet of Everything, meaning everything's connected, kind of blends that gap as well. And what that looks like. So, you know me, I'm a geek, right? I love technology, but I have a huge passion for sales and marketing too. So the geeky side of Morelle said, hey, when you build out your network at home, let's put in a firewall, let's do a network switch, let's do this and this and that. So I've got 4 different networks in my house, and one of those networks is strictly for dishwasher, washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, stove, Amazon Alexa and Google, and all those other personal assistants that connect to the internet. Number one, they have to be somewhat insecure, so I got them pretty much separated on their own network. But But that opens the door, right? When you have to dumb down your security to let those things connect, you open the door to what? Who knows? So now you've got all these devices connected. They're connecting at 5G or 4G LTE or better, right? What do? How do you protect yourself? So first we have to figure out how in the world did we get here and how much data are we pushing? I think it was like, some zettabytes of whatever data in 2021 that were recorded as pushed through. And that's like, if you can picture a zettabyte, and I want to say the math is somewhere around like 250 billion terabytes. Oh, wow. So that's how much data we're pushing between Apple Watch, my iPad, my phone, everywhere I go, I'm bleeding data, basically. So how do you close those doors is what we're starting to look at. How do you manage security now? I'm sure everybody in here uses a computer for work in some capacity, right? Right? Do you ever think anybody reuses the same password?
With an exclamation point on the end.
I mean, but even thinking about that, right? So you got your bank login, you got your Quickbooks login, you got this login, you got that login, and the biggest complaint I hear from pretty much a lot of people in this room is how do I keep track of all these passwords? Well, I'll tell you about that too. LastPass is a good tool. But when you think about reusing a password, I was a creature of habit too. Rewind 7 years ago, my bank password matched, well, I had 3 banks. All 3 bank passwords matched. So if somebody compromised that password, they have access to all 3 of my banks. Then you start looking at, your business line of software and what that touches. So if my bank password matches my Quickbooks password, I'm in trouble, right? And then I've got all these Internet of Things out here circling around connecting to my network, and they're not secure, and they're letting doors in. One of the latest threats, and not security, but one of the latest threats I read about was, you ever seen those lamps that you can play, the smart lamps, the smart bulbs? You can kind of plug in and change colors, it's really cool. Well, there's a brand out, I'm not gonna tell you the brand, but there's a brand out now that will compromise via Bluetooth and let them in your network that way too. So it's real fun, real fun. Technology's a lot of fun. We've had employees that click the wrong things happening in some of the clients that we support. So what do you do there? When a customer calls and says, hey, Susan clicked this link in this email, can you help me? By then I'm dependent on Webroot, Norton, McAfee, all these other antiviruses to keep you safe. Well, that's not always the case now. Usually that's more reactive support or reactive security versus proactive security. So you kind of have to keep that in mind too. And what would happen if somebody got in your Quickbooks? I already asked you that. That's pretty scary. I mean, we run Quickbooks as a business. I'm sure a lot of you guys too. Or any of your accounting software. What if somebody gets into your accountant's software in their system? So you have to kind of think down the line, like, I'm protecting my baby, but I'm trusting this accountant to do the same thing. So you have to think down the line of chain of who has access to your data as well. Let's say something does happen. You do have a security incident. How will that impact you? Anybody want to take that one? How are you impacted if something happens? Somebody gets your Quickbooks password. Somebody gets your bank account password. That's scary stuff. Make sure you change it regularly.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. At least 90 days. I change my bank password every month. And I keep it random too. So when you go through and start hiring staff and building your team, how do you relay your security concerns as a business owner or a business manager to that employee? How do you entrust that employee is doing the right thing? A lot of times it's built on a relationship. I'm going to hire Steve because I know Steve. But Steve may not know anything about the software that we use. So now I've got to spend time with Steve and show him why we have these safeguards in place. So that kind of conversation is being had now with a lot of employees. All right, so another question I often get is, do I need IT or do I need security? I say you need both. That's just me. We have both at Ramtech. We are IT, obviously, that's number one, it's baked in. But then we hired Ascend to provide the real-time monitoring, network surveillance. That M365 and Google Suite, that's just fancy terms for like corporate email. Microsoft 365, I'm sure you guys have seen that. Google Suite is now called Google Workplace. And then the 24/7 SOC integrated AV. And what that means is the integrated AV means they are monitoring anything that happens in Webroot, SentinelOne, Cylance, all those manufacturers, they're tying into that and they're monitoring that as well. So let's say something does happen and you have a SOC and you have IT, right? The SOC empowers us to be able to go in and say, well, Johnny downloaded this file at this time, and within 9 minutes of that file showing up and being reported to the SOC, Johnny's machine is now isolated off the network. So that pretty much stops ransomware in its tracks right there. And we've got some other tools and tricks in our tool belt too that kind of help prevent ransomware. So when people ask me, do I need IT or security? Well, at least get security. And IT usually comes behind that. You know, it's kind of like going to Burger King and getting a burger with no bun, the way I see it, right? Unless you're, you know, cutting out bread, then you'll get the lettuce wrap. But we're the lettuce and they're the bun, or they're the meat. So let's look at how the attack happens, right? So we got our bad guy, he's the attacker. He's gonna come in, usually with an email. That's what we normally see. It's always an email attack. It's like some strange percentage, like 89% of all attacks, especially last year when everybody buckled up and went home and started using their internet at home, which was great for me. Because now I get to secure the business four walls and then take that same security home. So that posed a challenge, I'm being sarcastic. So they attack via email, then they connect to your people, right? So now they're connected to the people inside your office. They're showing up in somebody's inbox and they're looking at their data and they're saying, okay, I can come in easily this way and get Betty because Betty's been here and she's about to retire and she's just gonna click it and go. So they got Betty. Betty's now infected. And now the infection is looking on the network to see what it can find. It's gathering that data, that's your data right there, it's gone now, it's out. And it's back to the attacker. And what does that attacker do with that data? He gets the keys, the identity, the everything from everybody on your network because you're not secure. Gets access to your people, your processes, your assets, and your data, and your brand, and your reputation. Reputation wouldn't fit. Reputation is huge. Ask the people at Colonial Pipeline, ask the people at Target, ask the people at whoever's been hacked lately, right? Reputation's huge. And then dark web. That's where they're selling it. That's where they're making their money. So we monitor the dark web as well. Make sure you're not showing up out there because it's crazy. Like I get 2 a.m. emails from dark web alerts. It's crazy. Some of the stuff that you guys don't see that IT guys do see. So safeguard your data. So the common attack method, we kind of touched on it, right? They get in through email. RDP is like remote desktop. That's what you remote into another computer with. And then they plant a bug, right? So then they got that, they automate that data. They pull you out and sell you off as a ransom, so they can do a ransomware, right? And then they steal your identity and steal your money. And they charge you, 10,000 Bitcoin, which is, several $1,000s. So if you want access to your data, you have to pay the ransom to get it back. If you have a good backup in place, that's usually a good first step. But now they've gotten smart, they're encrypting the backups. So now your backups are trash, pretty much. All right, so business email compromise is usually what we see. And I've got a demo I'm going to show you guys of a life hack. I was actually going to get the guy to call in, but he had a scheduling conflict, so it messed me up moving him on. But it's all good, we're here. Ransomware we talked about, and then everybody thinks, oh, I'm moving to the cloud, I'm good, right? Everybody thinks cloud's safe, raise your hand. I mean, cloud is safe. It just depends on how you're using it. If you don't change your password every 90 days and it's been 3 years since you changed your cloud password, you might have a problem. Just saying. So, one note to take, change passwords regularly. Write that down. All right, so email protection. How can we protect our email? MFA, anybody familiar with MFA, 2FA? I was about to say some of these folks in here, some of my clients should have heard me talk about it. MFA is multi-factor authentication, 2FA is two-factor authentication. Anybody here have an online banking account? And they send you a text message, right? When you go to log in, you're good, you have it turned on. What that means is if I'm your attacker, if I'm your breacher that's trying to get access to your account and I have your username and your password, when I get to that point, it's gonna tell me to put in the text message number that I received, right? If I don't have it, I can't get in. Door's closed. So I picture like my grandmother's house. We had the screen door, which us as kids, we left that thing open, right? And then we had that big old heavy wooden door, right? And if you went to the great-grandma's house, they got that split door thing going on. So imagine that the door is your password, that screen door, with it being locked, that's your 2FA, MFA, okay? Gotta have some strong phishing protection. Remember I told you like 89% of all attacks come through email. Make sure you're guarding your email, okay? Train and test your users, have some type of content filtering. This thing is way too technical, I don't expect you to understand it, but behind every email is a demarked record. That basically is an authentication record that says, this is Barbara from Henry Chamber, okay? It's an identity behind the scenes. And then some ways to stop phishing, which that's way on down the line. All right, so here is the demo. This is the setup of the demo for the hack, and I'll walk you guys through what's happening as it goes through the video. Essentially, they're gonna open up this Zfisher application, and they're gonna put in a legitimate email address, and you'll see it all unfold here in a second. All right, here we go. So what you're seeing here is this is the Zfisher application. This is free on the internet, by the way. They pick their attack vector, which, you have Facebook, Instagram, Microsoft, all these different ones to pick from, and they're creating a fake link, okay? And you'll see the link pop up here in a second. There's the link. He's gonna grab it, pop it into this AOL email that he's created to look like Microsoft sent it, right? Paste the link in there to verify your identity, and then he's gonna send it. Now, this is gonna land in Steve Nail's inbox, and he's gonna call Morelle and says, I got this email that I don't know what this looks like, right? Don't do that. Just pay attention and see. Look at the link. It's not taking you to Microsoft, but it looks like Microsoft, right? And this guy puts in all his information. Now keep in mind, this is a 3-minute video. This is actual live. There's no chops in it. It takes 3 minutes to steal identity. 3 minutes, 20 seconds. And he logs in and he doesn't do anything. So he's thinking, oh, okay, Microsoft's having issues, which that's typical too sometimes. But it spits out username and password right here. We're on the attacker's computer now, so he's logging into your Microsoft account. He's got your username and password, pulled it, copy paste. He's logged in as you. And now from what they do from here, typically, and I don't know if he's gonna show in this video, but what they do from here is they go in and set rules up. And now they're setting rules up to look for conversations around wire transfers. He's gonna go through it. Wire transfers, bank account information, kids information, because if you've got kids, most of the time people use kids as their passwords. But he's gonna create a forward in here, and he's gonna forward that email to him or to this attacker, and you will never know what's going on behind the scenes. Never, you never know. Yeah, wire transfer, that's a popular one, especially with real estate agents and attorneys, and we see this information a lot happen. This type of attack happens more than any other. So yeah, now he's just sending it to his own account.
Let me call you back.
And save, and he's out. So now, you have no clue that he's even done or been in your inbox. Everything that comes in gets filtered and sent. See, there's a wire transfer notice, right? This is still like, Steve's computer. Now we switch back over to the hacker's computer, look in the AOL message box, and there's wire transfer information there. So within 3 minutes and 20 seconds, you can be hacked just by not paying attention. So I pick on wire transfers because, like I said, it's the biggest target because you can get a big payout real fast, right? But even everyday people can use some of these same tools to keep themselves safe. The multi-confirmation, making sure, hey, look, I'm about to send you a wire, do you get it? No, hey, I just went through a buy-sell of a property, and I'm telling you, I was on the phone with the lawyer, hey, I got this email, was this you? I was confirming, so make sure you confirm. Common sense. Common sense is not so common. That's the saying in our office, right? Anything that looks weird, it is weird, definitely. If it looks like an odd bird and it's got 3 eyes and 3 legs, that's an odd bird, right? You're not gonna trust it. Confirm the changes. Make sure you're looking at the from. This is real cool. example, if somebody's just glancing at that, they're not going to notice that's an I instead of an L. So make sure you just keep your guard up, right? Watch for those type of things. Always, always, always. I tell people, look, if I'm doing something major, if I'm planning a major project for your business and you have questions on something, let's talk on the phone. Let me pick up the phone and call you and let's go over this email, right? That way you'll know what I'm talking about, what I'm asking you for, and what it's going to cost. So we are new school because we're a technology firm, but I'm old school because I want to talk to Steve and say, Steve, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. I can send that in email, but I want to make sure he got it, especially if we're doing something big or major. So, cyber hygiene. Establish what you want to protect the most. Put your screen door on your data. Put a burglar bar window and door on your data. Secure it up. Build concentric rings around that. So make sure that whatever you secure, you have multiple layers. It's kind of like an onion. I tell people security is like an onion. You keep peeling back the layers till you get to the core. If you, this is weird, so I was reading this slide last night, just going through it. If you have to know if you have a problem, or you have to know if you have a problem, that's why monitoring your network is essential. So if you don't know you have the problem, you don't know that they've gone in and created these rules, right? So on your tables, you'll see like a 365 defense form. That's another layer of protection that walks you through the SOC is monitoring those changes, right? So if you're not looking, it's kind of like the old saying, if you're not looking, you'll run into it, or a snake will bit you. You have to take responsibility for the downtime, or time down. Make sure that you know, I heard a speaker say one time that, you know, how can we sell SOC services and do this in this environment? And the response was, you take it from the marketing budget. And I raised my hand in this conference and said, why would you take it from the marketing budget? That seems silly, right? And I'm sure Michelle's like, yeah, don't take it from the marketing budget. But how would you like to contact Michelle and say, hey, Michelle, we got breached. I'm going to need to spend about $30,000 on rebuilding my reputation. Yeah. And that's just rebuilding the reputation. That's not recovering from the actual breach, because you got to deal with that and the users impacted by that. So I tell people, even the cyber insurance policies, I sit on about 10 of those audits a week. All of them are all the same. I swear they just copy and paste and send. You can, I've heard, I haven't seen, you can receive some type of discount by having the right security measures in place. Okay? It's kind of like home security systems. You know, when you get a home security system, there's oh, if you have all your windows secure, your rate is this. Same thing with auto insurance, I'm sure, right? So you have to pick something that covers people, process, and technology. That's the biggest thing. Making sure your people stay aware, making sure they stay alert. Don't get caught off guard by the misspellings of the words and the domains and how they look. I pick on Steve because he has called a couple times. Morelle, check this out. Is this real? I don't mind it, but when I get everybody in the county calling me, that's when I just stop answering the phone. But I'm telling you ways that you can safeguard yourself and answer that question on your own. So that's us, that's what we do. That's a link directly to my calendar. If you want to scan that QR code, that's our phone number. And you can email me at info@randtechpcs.com. I'm going to pause and take questions. If you guys have them, I'll do my best to answer. Yes.
So what about like auto-filling like your passwords and that?
Oh, I didn't even touch on that.
So should we not do that on bank accounts and stuff?
Here's the best part about autofill passwords, especially like in Google Chrome. Everybody uses Google Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer. If you use the built-in password tool, and I sit down behind your computer, I can look at all those passwords plain as day. So yes, please do that. Yes, sir.
And, as far as like banking, and you say we should change our passwords every 90 days.
At least.
At least.
At least.
And that's all of your passwords.
I do.
Even your Netflix password.
Netflix, I don't care so much.
Things having to do with the money.
Yes. Now, my credit card is attached to my Netflix account, and I do get that, but I monitor that statement already.
Okay.
My Netflix account got hacked one time.
Oh, it can. The
It did,
Facebook
and I
accounts can
had
get
to-
hacked,
yep.
everything, yeah. Yep. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So are the Macs more secure than the PC?
Oh, I get this one a lot too. Are Macs more secure than PCs? To answer that, no. I mean, they're not as exploited as the Windows operating system, but they are. I've seen some infected Macs before as well. I mean, I'm a Mac person only because I like everything integrating well. Yes, sir.
Google, Google is, how secure is your Google accounts? Right, Google, because if you're using, especially talking about businesses, a lot of places, when I apply for business credit, don't want me to use a Google email. They want me to use the email that's generated from my website. Is that because those are more secure than the
That's
Google
more
emails,
of
or is that like is that something that they're just specific about? Like, hey, we'd rather have this kind of email rather than a Google email.
That's more of a bank-specific thing. I used to work in banking, actually right over here, and that's more of a banking thing. They want you to have an established business and put your business domain in there for that reason. That's not there's nothing around security on that. Like if you ever go to your Google login and you look at where you go log in, the address bar at the top where it says Google Mail or Gmail, whatever it says, as long as you see a lock or an HTTPS, that lets you know that that link between your viewing site and your keyboard is secure. Yes, sir.
Everybody's using smartphones.
Correct.
And so, you get text messages, bogus text messages with those links in there.
Smishing, I believe is what they call that. Yes.
Okay, so, if you click on it naturally, they don't probably go in and steal stuff.
Same thing.
Any way of preventing that?
If you don't recognize it, don't open it.
That's it.
I mean, that's the rule in my house. If you don't know who sent you that, don't click the link. Yes, Steve.
Do you have a way to come in and do a check to see if our computer network has been compromised?
Yes, we can do it
Because
internal.
like you're saying, we could be compromised and never know.
Correct. We can do an internal
So
vulnerability
you can
scan.
come in and do that. Is that something recommended, like a yearly maintenance type thing?
So a lot of the cyber audits I sit on want you to have an internal and external network audit annually. Those prices are going up. I priced one before the pandemic. It was 2019, mid-2019, and it was about $3 or $4 grand. And I priced one for a customer just last month, same size, and it's now $8 grand annually.
You take payments?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we can, if customers have our plans, we can kind of bake that into a plan. But it's crazy. I mean, even the software costs that we use to do those types of scans and audits is going up in price significantly.
But if you are compromised, that's a small price to pay to know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I read something about a recent hack. I want to say it was T-Mobile, where it was like millions of people affected by a T-Mobile hack, and they had to like just buying credit monitoring for millions of people that touch your product. I mean, imagine what that cost would be like. I mean, it's like $30 a year per individual or something like that for credit monitoring. You multiply that by millions. And then if you look at your cyber insurance policy, like I read one the other day and it was like, it was for a financial broker, and they are going up to like, I want to say like 10 million in coverage because they touch a lot of other people, in their retirement aspect. So when you start looking at how many people you can touch, and the data that you have access to and the information you have access to, you want to safeguard that.
Do you recommend the insurance?
Oh yeah,
Cyber
definitely.
insurance?
If you don't have cyber insurance, definitely do it. We just upped ours this year as well. Only because, I mean, I'm on the forefront. I see what's coming down the pipeline, The kids that are coming out of school now, they know how to use smartphones, they know how to use computers, but they don't know how to secure them. That's the problem.
And Morelle, you mentioned the cloud being more secure if you know how to use it.
True. True. So cloud security, right? There's a lot of different cloud vendors out there. It depends on what you want your cloud to do. The biggest request we get is, hey, we want to put our QuickBooks in the cloud so Sally in Utah can do bookkeeping for us, right? That's a common request we get. As long as you turn on the multi-factor authentication, confirm that it's Sally, set up a VPN session, there's multiple different ways to control the interaction with the cloud to make sure you're using it securely. Yep. Answer your question.
I have another question too.
Sure.
This is like about network, so I'm a small business, right? So at what point is the right time to get a network to run your business off of? When you have how many computers or how many people, or should you do that always?
I always tell them, Josh is sitting down at another computer, even if we're cohabitating our own businesses in the same office. So those shared office spaces and you connect into the Wi-Fi, I've walked in several of those here in this county and I can see everybody on the network and I can see all your data.
Wow.
So more than one computer, that's when you want to start implementing network security. A sweet spot is 5. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you.
This has been a very scary education story. I know I need to change my passwords more often.
Change passwords more often.
Morelle, do you have some type of password system
Yes.
as far as creating passwords that you can kind of somehow
Yes.
keep up with what you're doing?
I have been a user of a product called LastPass, and it's lastpass.com is their website. They don't pay me. I'm just telling you it's a good product. I've been using it for years, and I have my entire staff and team turned on to it as well. Everything that comes across our door has to have a certain level of compliancy because we support medical offices and financial offices and CPAs and accountants. So we have to be just as secure and compliant as those guys. So a lot of people will often ask, what do you do to manage those passwords? You remember one password with LastPass? It meets all the complexity and compliance needs for all those other entities, and it gives you access to all of that data.
And then do you change that password every 90 days?
We have that built in to change every 90 days as well. The cool thing about LastPass is it has a built-in password generating tool, and you can kind of slide the slider. If you want a 80 character password, you can do that and just copy and paste it into your browser. Be careful when you copy and paste it. If you have a keylogger, then they can get that too.
lastpass.com?
LASTPAS, correct. Yes.
Is that for businesses only?
No, I actually started out with an individual LastPass account and I graduated to a business account.
That just kind of, so you don't have to remember, it remembers it for you?
It remembers it for you. You just need
get
one
stuck and
password.
you go there and it'll remind you?
Exactly.
So,
I haven't been able to log on for a week or so, I was wondering. I forgot my password.
All right. Any other questions? I don't know how I'm looking on time.
Any other recommended MFAs? Google Authenticator or Duo?
So everything that we touch has to meet that compliance reason, right? So we use Duo. Duo has a really stand-up product. There's a lot of freebies out there. We started with Authy before we got more. I guess we started working with more entities that needed more security on our end. And then when we talked to our insurance lawyer, he's like, yeah, you probably should use Duo. And we started looking at Duo a little bit heavily, and that's what the federal government's using it too. So we switched, and it's on the FedRAMP program as well. So working with Kenneth, and he showed me some of that stuff too. So we made that switch. I'm sorry, I saw another hand. Yes, sir.
So LastPass essentially does what your Google password thing does, except for it's just more secure.
More secure, correct. More secure. Yeah. And
Okay.
turn multi-factor on when you get that. It will, it'll send you a text or it'll call your phone or use an authenticator app to get into it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Can it tell you if somebody else has accessed your password?
I don't know if it will tell you if someone actually got into your account unless you go look in the logs. But I'm telling you as a criminal, if I went and got access to your LastPass account, the first thing I'm gonna do is change your password to lock you out. So if you get locked out of your LastPass account, you need to be on the phone with their support.
No, I was actually, probably didn't ask it right. If they get into like your bank account, and it's also listed as part of your LastPass inventory of passwords. So they could actually go into your bank account without going into LastPass if they can get your...
No,
No?
They would have to have access to your LastPass to get to your bank. Yep. It's kind of like a vault door. Actually, they call it the password vault when you get logged in.
So people cannot get into your accounts if your password is logged as inventory in LastPass?
They can. They can still guess your password if you have a guessable password.
They can.
That's why I strongly suggest turning on multi-factor on your bank accounts.
Okay, so LastPass is not security.
That's just a tool to help you remember
It's just a tool to
passwords.
help you remember passwords.
Yep, that's its goal. I've been to several offices around town as well, and you guys are notorious for putting passwords on the keyboards and passwords like on the sticky note behind the monitor on the wall. Kind of thing. I've seen a lot of you guys do that.
Somebody do that yesterday.
So, and I've also seen people get creative with it. They'll create a notepad of passwords on their computer. And what happens when your computer crashes though? All your passwords crash with it. I've had people create, and this is probably the most creative one I've seen. Everybody has a smartphone, I'm assuming, right? Nobody has old school flip or BlackBerry. They'll go into their contacts and they'll create a contact called Grandma or something like that, and then they'll put all their passwords in there. Wow. Which that's probably the most creative one I've seen, but if you happen to get in my phone and you go look up Grandma, then you got all the passwords.
So in other words, use like Uncle Smitty.
Recipes would probably work for you. Recipes, I've seen that one too. But they were silly though. They kept like, it would be like me calling it Ramtech recipes. I saw somebody do that. I was like, where you're in the food industry and you put recipes in there, so that's the first place I'm going to look.
I like Uncle Smitty.
All right, Uncle Smitty works best, yes. All right. Any other questions for me? Sweet. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate the chamber. Hopefully I didn't scare you too much. And I'll be over here if you need me.
All right, thanks, Morelle.